learners. Today we are going to continue to talk about multiplication. Remember, when we have multiplication, it is the operation of repeated addition of the same number. And when we multiply to find a product. And a product is the answer to a multiplication problem. So today our math focus, of course I lost my math focus board at the last minute. It is, I can show multiplication facts in a variety of ways, such as repeated addition and arrays. Now, I know that you guys did a little bit of this last year, so I imagine that really for a few days, usually this is something we spend several days doing in class and doing with manipulatives. So this is one of those things that if you have something around the house to move with that are like shapes, like say tons of pennies, so those are hard to kind of find these days. If you have lots of Cheerios, if you have lots of pieces of breakfast cereal, if you have small pieces of paper, those are always great things to be using right now because you can kind of get the sense of what arrays could look like a little bit better. Sometimes when we draw them, they don't turn out quite right, and I'll get into that in a second. But remember, arrays are arrangements of objects in equal rows, kind of like this right here, or like this grid that you can see, or these apples that are right here. The reason why we use arrays it's a fantastic way to show multiplication and also division, showing groups of like items, okay, in a certain order. So I had a multiplication problem right here, and it's 3 times 8 equals 24. So one of the ways I figured you could show it, this multiplication problem, was by repeated groups of addition. So I had 3 groups of 8, so I had 8 plus 8 plus 8 equals 24. I could also add 3 plus 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 3, which would be 8 groups of 3, which also equals 24. Now I'm going to show 3 times 8 in an array. So this is what I was talking about, why it's nice sometimes to be able to, if you have lots of small items, small like items, to be able to use them when you make arrays. So right here, I showed 3 rows of 8. 3 rows of 8. So this is where things get a little confusing. I need to make sure, to make sure I'm lining up all my objects, and so they're in neat rows and columns. And the second thing I need to do is I need to make sure all my items were kind of about the same size, which is really difficult because I'm not that great of a drawer. Maybe you're a bit better. So then when I arranged things in 3 rows of 8, I have 3 rows. You have to remember that rows go left to right, kind of straight across your paper. Columns go up and down. Okay, so the best way I can think about that is that you can look up a picture of columns on houses. And columns usually are at the front entryways of houses, and they kind of they look like they're holding the entryways up. And that's the best way to kind of remember that columns go up and down, and then the opposite, rows go straight across. So right here, I have 3 rows of 8, and I'll kind of draw attention to them by looking like this. And this would be one way to show 3 times 8. So what I want you to do is I want you to pause this video, and I want you to get out a piece of paper and a pencil, and I want you to draw what you think is an array for 2 times 7. So let me, in fact, erase this so you're ready to go. And I'm going to have you pause your video, and I want you to draw out an array for what you think is 2 times 7. Okay, I bet you're back. And so let's look at what 2 times 7 looks like. Let me get the best pen I can. So think of it this way. It would be 2 rows of 7. And a way to show it when you're showing repeated addition would be 2 groups of 7. So it would be 7 plus 7. So I know that 7 plus 7 equals 14. So that 2 times 7 must equal 14. Now if I want to draw an array of 2 rows of 7, it would be looking like this. Remember, rows go straight across, columns go up and down. So I want to have 2 rows of 7. So I'm going like this to start making my rows first, so I know that I have 2 rows that are going to go across, and then I'm going to make each one of 7. And once again, you kind of have to be careful. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And remember, the purpose of an array is to really line up those rows and columns really neatly, so you can tell what groups they belong to. So here are our 2 rows of 7. And you would be able to easily count these 2 groups or 2 rows of 7 and show that it would equal 14. So today your job is going to be working on drawing some arrays. And I hope that you guys have a fabulous day, 3rd graders.